Okay, so the fourth stimulus check, which they're not calling a stimulus check, they're working on a new package they've been working on for a few months. And this new package, they bounced it around, approved it, then disapproved it, and approved it. I do know that on the child care refund and all that, the people are getting every month. And I know people personally that are really getting that. And they like it so much, they said, man, that makes our rent. Um, so when they have two kids, I know some people personally, and they were talking about shutting that off because the government's going broke, the United States government, which I have a hard time believing that. As why are they giving so much money away to these other countries when we need it? Um, but they're talking about carrying on that child daycare payment for the next year or two, actually. Amazingly enough. Now on that for stimulus thing, they have actually got some money set aside, but they're calling it something else instead of stimulus check. And honestly, I kind of think that that if they do it, I think it'll be like December, like right before Christmas. And the reason I think that is because they did it like that last time. They drug it out and then did it like right before Christmas, and that's when sales went wacko in stores and online. And that really helps the economy. Is right now we're in such bad shape that they have raised the fuel for cars, and that's like on a daily basis. And I think it's like 5.50 a gallon in California, and here in Upper Florida, it's like 3.20 a gallon. Um, and other states is cheaper or higher, but it just keeps going up every day. And food and stuff is just skyrocketing. It's just terrible, the inflation. But yet they're printing money. But every time they print money, then the value of our dollar bill goes down in the U.S. So that's problematic. But um, I'm still not seeing anything on the college cancellation of the school loans for any amount, as Biden so promised to everybody. And that's what's sad. And, I hate, if you're not a man of your word, you're not a man at all. You know, I'm a firm believer in that. I learned that when I moved towards the South years ago, and really that's very, very true. So I lost faith with Biden right off the top because I didn't see the action, and I still am not seeing the action on that school loan thing. And, it's really sad. Um, and there was a statement made, I guess, from Biden about a month or two ago that was like, well, I'm not worried about the school loan thing right now. And inspirational nomad, what's up, buddy? And then, yeah, he's talking about the Social Security thing. That's problematic too, isn't it? Ugh. But I don't know if they really attack the Social Security too much because those are existing people and they're living off of that. Um, but it's messy. But now I would tell you, raising my children, nobody paid my way. There was no government funding, on a monthly basis for that kind of money in any way. What's going on, Paranormal Gaming? I think there's Wayne there. Um, so, I just, our government's such a fail. And why we keep putting out money overseas when we need it so badly ourselves. Keep adapting. You're a survivor. Yeah, they could put me. I dated a guy years ago, and he said, they could put you in the middle of the desert with one camel and three Arabs, and you'd have the camel and not have to do anything at all. And it's like, yeah. It's just like I used to tell people, yeah, I sold the bridge over there 4 times to 4 different people. You see why there's all those different colors of paint. And then people really believe that. Um, um, But yeah, it's amazing. I'm not a big fan of government help of any kind, welfare, unemployment, any of that. I absolutely do not like it, and uh, it just, I think it's a payback. It's like signing in the military. I love you, inspirational nomad. Thank you for the tip. You were so awesome. That just made my whole day. And I'm sitting here in front of Starbucks. Okay. But yeah, so um, uh, I, I think if they do a stimulus check, it's probably going to be more towards Christmas to save the economy. Like I said during the beginning of the pandemic, if you had something to sell, get it online because I think it's going to be awesome for lockdown. And I was right. And because everybody was just, they couldn't get out of their houses, they weren't allowed to. Here there was a law, and you had to have a permit to carry in your car if you were going to work because the police would stop you. It was pretty bad. And yeah, my friend, you're reading my mind. I know you are. Um, Things are getting interesting. But anyway, still no buyer on the PS4. I had an idiot on there the other day trying to buy one. Aren't they terrible? I had a guy that offered me $50 for a $200 pair of running shoes, brand new, in the box. And it was like, I sent him a message back of ebay.com. This is where you'd like to shop because they do bidding there. I really did. I had a girl send me a message on some of the auction stuff the other night, late at night, and it says on there, messages and pickups only 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And they want to send me messages at 2 in the morning and 4 in the morning like they're sitting at a damn bar going, hey, I like this. And they don't realize it bugs you because it wakes you up when everything's pinging all the time. And you think it's a family emergency or something, and it's just some bozo that wants to buy nothing. Um, but yeah, thank you so much again for the tip, Inspirational Nomad. I love you, man. That made my day. It really did. Life is rough right now. Really rough. Um, but anyway, no sales in like 30 days. I've sold a few pieces on the auction stuff. We're getting ready to come up for auction in a few days, and I really need to be doing it because my dead friend's unit will, I'm pretty sure, most definitely be going up because they've been holding it back for a couple months. And it really bites because the next month they're going to go online with this one complex. And I don't like online bidding. It's like eBay. It's like they get shields in there to bid all that stuff up. And I don't think it's fair. Um, but still, I make a lot of money with the auction storages. And the part I make the money on is like the furniture. That's where I really make money on it. And you find treasures on occasion. I've had it somewhere. Every other thing I picked up in the unit was a treasure. But the furniture, I sell that, boom, right off the top. And I get, really good money for it. Even if it's junk, I sell it. And they buy it because people are moving right now. The evictions have started here like 60 days ago. People are being put out really quickly. Whether it's 5 days, 15 days, or 30 days, they are being put out very, very quickly. But again, these are people that have not paid rent like a year, and longer. And I feel sorry for them. With an eviction on record in Florida, you have a real hard time renting. They don't like to touch you. And then also, if you're owing like $15,000 in rent to a former landlord, I'm sure they don't want to, rent to you. I was put out on the street in 5 days, 5-day sheriff notice, and that was horrible. But this guy got a big old diesel V8. Jeez. But such is life. I don't like to argue with anybody or get in difficulty, and I always paid rent early. And it was shameful the way it was done, but what do you do? I knew a guy that he said he was 101 years old, and he's deceased now, out in Alabama, and He said, you know, I've never gone to court with anyone in my whole life. And I was like, gosh, how did you accomplish that? I sued a jukebox company in one. I've sued 2 landlords in one. Um, you know, I've gone to court myself and defended myself and won repeatedly. Um, uh, I've been to court a few times. I've been to court, I think, on 1 or 2 tickets in my life. Um, you know, I mean, I don't know how he made it all those years without court. It's pretty amazing. Unless he's one of those old timers that was paying folks off. I don't know. South is so much different. But yeah, there's stuff coming up. Like right now, there's 5 things in the Fort Walton area for rent. But you're talking 1280 and up on Zillow. And we have so many tourists that have moved here. And the big thing, you know, in the last like 5-6 months is the out-of-staters buying property up because it's so much cheaper. At the beginning, you know, one of the cheaper houses in Southern California is $1 million to begin with, and they're not big, trust me. And you know, that property versus a property here in Upper Florida, this is a nice area. It's not Jack's, Florida. That's a dive. But you know, this area is very, very nice. You know, you could buy, you know, a house all day long around here for 80 or 100K before the pandemic hit. And now, you know, they're going for about, you know, 150 to 300K. And that's still cheap compared to $1 million. So a lot of these out-of-staters are buying stuff up to be landlords. And they go in and they clean it up, do a couple renovations, put about 10K in the thing, changing the counters out to that slate or whatever that is, and doing things to them. And then they turn around and rent them for, you know, 500 or 1,000 higher than it normally rents per month. And they're just happy as hell, you know. And if you're going to do that, the best thing you can do is put it with a broker. And yeah, you have to pay the broker monthly on this stuff, but the brokers do the background checks and they handle the damages and the deposits and all that stuff. It's like my dad told me years ago. He said, yeah, I own my own business, but, you know, I had trouble asking people for my money. And I'm like, how do you do that? You know? And he was like, well, I just did. I'm really good at what I do. I just have trouble asking for money. And that they owe him. And so, and I mean, he was dealing with, you know, Hefners and a lot of famous people and stuff, and Batman and all those people, and just it doesn't make any difference, you know, how famous you are, how much money you have. They still have trouble, you know, paying, and you know, they're coming weekly to get sailing lessons or celestial navigation lessons or coastal piloting or cruising or rent a boat, and at one point in time, my father had 41 boats in the fleet. And, you know, like 4 of them were used primarily for sailing lessons, you know, and the rest were used for leasing. And so, you know, I said, well, I mean, how do you run a business and you have trouble asking for the money, you know? And so he said, well, I hired a secretary and I let them do that. So as soon as people walk in the door to go to their class, they're collecting money. And we did a lot of checks back then. Rarely did we do credit cards. But people paid cash or checks. And we wrote them a receipt. Boom, boom. So, you know, we got them. You know, and if we didn't get them before they went into class, we got them as soon as the class, you know, ended, right before they were going down on the boat to go do the sailing, because there was so much class time and so much on the water, that we hit them as soon as they got to that class. If they you know, jazzed us and said, I'll give you a check in a minute, you know. But I had to work in the office, so I know. But usually everybody's pretty good because these people had money. People that wanted sailing lessons and leasing boats and all, they had money. These were doctors, lawyers, actors. These people generally had pretty good money. And um, it's been an amazing business for a great many years. Both my parents were in the business, and then when they split up, they both had their own businesses. And then my mother closed hers. Oh gosh, a few years after my parents split up, and then um, my dad has still continued on through the years in another part of California. Around '04, and we were talking. He's like, "How's your business?" I said, "Well, I'm surviving. Oddly enough," I said, land has gone down so much it's just worthless. Where you could buy a house for 10K. I was looking in Arkansas and I knew the houses and stuff, and they were listed online. They were $1,000, $2,000 buy a whole house with land. And property went down so bad. I mean, property went down so bad it was below the city evaluation. Yeah, that's pitiful. And he said that his business was just really suffering, and so he was just about ready to shut the doors, and he just wasn't making it, and it was costing him many thousands of dollars to keep alive. From the rent for the building, and the slip rents, which those are high as fire in California. When you have 41 boats, it's a lot of money, especially if you're not bringing any in. And then the colleges that he taught at also started requiring some kind of personal insurance you had to have all of a sudden because of something that happened. So then he opted out of that. He said, just forget it. I'm just not going to teach at the colleges anymore. And, but my business survived where his going down the toilet. So, again, we're here in this situation now where the economy is so screwballed up. It's so pitiful. I don't know where we're going to go on this deal. I feel sorry for people that have kids. This is a bad time to have children. I'm not kidding you a bit. This is not the day and age to be having children. This stuff is going to, I knew when the pandemic came in that we were talking 2 or 3 years that this stuff was going to last. I mean, it's just like when polio hit and all that. It's going to take 2 or 3 years till they get a lot of this capped off. Um, and it's just the way it goes. It's going to take time. You got so many stubborn people that believe in this and believe in that, and they don't want to do the shots. But now these are the same bozos that don't want to do a shot, but they also won't respect you for a 6-foot rule, and they're all over you. You go in the store and they're brushing your shoulder. You open the door and they walk in before you, like your door service. I mean, go ahead, don't get a shot, but stay away from me. Respect everybody else. You do whatever the heck you want. I have a different thought for you. Really, I do. But it's your business. But just respect others. If you're not going to do it, respect others. I have a friend of mine. She keeps saying she's going to get the shot. And I'm like, well, until then, when you're talking to me, even outside, I want you to be, 6 foot away. And I would appreciate it. And she's like, well, okay. And I'm like, look, you do your life your way, I'll do mine my way, but I'm telling you, you got no shot. You need to stand back from me. I love you dearly, but you're gonna run around with no mask and no shots, and you might give me this stuff and kill me, and I've got so much to do. I have to find a way back if I died today. So at least respect others. Oh, here's smoke going through here. This guy, he owns a house and gets thousands a month on a state check, and he goes riding around these malls and goes to every single car asking for money for food at McDonald's. Then he goes up to McDonald's, and then the dope man shows up and he buys his stuff. Isn't that pitiful? Yeah, I know, idiot who has had COVID. He went out and he was trying to... Boy, this signal's so bad. If I can get into that message. The signal's really low. Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, they'll go out in the public and they'll infect people. They're like, well, I don't have time to not go out and shop or whatever. And it's like, oh my gosh. you know, you're killing people, you know, you are killing people. I mean, I have friends that go, I'm going to the club or going to the bar, or I'm like, go right ahead. I don't go in a lot of businesses, even with the face mask on, because, and I wear a face mask when I'm around people. Um, I'll wait till the place is about dead, opening or closing before I'll go in there. And I'm not eating inside a restaurant for your life. There was a restaurant we went to the other day. My brother came in town for a little bit and stuck me in a hotel. And so, you know, I called this one restaurant that has a patio. There's several of them here, which is so nice. And it was evening, so it was cool. And there was a breeze, and this place was on the water. And I called them and said, can we get on the patio? Do you have to come inside? Do you have to make reservations? Is there a waiting list? And they're like, no, there's no waiting. I said, well, okay, we'll be there within the hour. Now, do we have to come inside to get a table? And she said, well, yeah. And I thought, well, those bozos that have guts, I'll let them go in there and go talk to the table lady, because I'm not going in the place. And sure as heck, I'm standing outside the front door with a face mask on. And there was three of us going to eat dinner that evening. And he went in, and then the other person went in, and then they were like, okay, the girl came over and says, okay, we'll just go through here. I said, I'm not going through there. I said, there's two entrances to that patio out there. I said, I'm not going in that building. And she says, huh? And I said, no. I said, we're eating on the patio, and I don't go in buildings. And she was like, but, and I'm like, I don't care, because it lives in those air systems. Yeah, he was going fishing. He doesn't have no sense. And so, uh, she was like, well, you could just walk through here. I'm like, if you can't let me in through those two, doors that are on the side of the patio, then I'm not going. I guess at a certain time of night, they want to lock that up. But they still had, like, with a tie around them, too, that they weren't even using. So, it's like, come on. And so they finally, opened the back door and went through over there and picked out a table way away from other people. They had the tables real close together. And, when the pandemic first hit, they literally had to get out there with yardsticks and stuff to make sure those tables were far enough apart from each other outside. So, we had a lovely dinner, and we weren't near any people, which was really cool. Um, but they smoked, my brother real bad, because he told him, he said, look, all I want is, a little bit of fish and some fries, and a little bit of, oyster or whatever. And they brought him like 4 meals. 4 separate meals, $20 each. That was so pitiful. Really taking advantage of, a tourist, right? That was cool. But he had money, so he didn't care. He paid it, but how it goes. But yeah, so I think the economy is so fragile right now, and it's sad. Now here the pay is still real high in the Fort Walton Destin area. Destin, there's still a lot of jobs close to 20. Most everything here in Fort Walton is 13, 14, and have bonuses, 400 or 500 bonus. I guess that's for like the first 30 days or something. I saw a delivery company where you just drive and deliver stuff for this company that's over in the commercial building area. And they had $1,000 or $2,000 sign-on bonus, and you don't have to have a CDO. So there was also a restaurant in Destin that was giving a brand new car away if people would just apply. Yeah, and they were going to give one car away, and it was going to be like a drawing between, however many people they could hire. There used to be a seafood place here that was good, but it closed, I think, way before the pandemic ever started. You know how many places closed here because they couldn't make the rent? And just because they had that write-off on people's home rent they claimed, which was not true because my landlord was still collecting rent. I used to ask her every month any Corona discount, and she refused. And I was paying $1,000 a month for a house with a pool, and I always paid my rent in advance. And so for like 2 years on that house, and so um, when the pandemic hit, they didn't get like a write-off on the rent for these commercial properties. So these restaurants that were not allowed to open, and gyms that were not allowed to open, and all these other businesses were not allowed to open. Um, they were paying mall rents, and they're high. You're talking 5K and up out this way. So that's a lot of money when you're sitting dormant month after month, waiting to be allowed to open. And the hairdressers, they were waiting to open. Hell, I've been cutting hair out on the sidewalk. I'm a licensed hairdresser since I was 18 years old. And let me tell you what, my butt be out there on the sidewalk. I've done it for poor people in bars where we literally put a bar stool under the lamplight, And I went out and I always carried my scissors and combs and all that and sterilized them, kept them in a Ziploc baggie in my pocketbook. And I did free haircuts and shaves and stuff under the lamplight with a bar stool out front of the club. And for free to help people. And, as long as you're outside, you're in a better position, really. They had good catfish and fries, and it was great. Yeah, a lot of these places closed during the pandemic. They couldn't make it. Especially reopening, they couldn't make it because, here, it was going on for like 6 months where a lot of these places couldn't open. The ones that were open, the restaurants that dared to open, which I'm like, man, if they don't have all this food in their shed, bottled water, canned food, all this crap, and it just sits there and rusts. And they're like, well, you're going to have it in case there's a bomb air raid. Well, I haven't seen any of those yet, but in my whole lifetime, but still. And all that stuff ended up being thrown away. But people weren't prepared for this. And so they had to do something. And I give it a big hand to those restaurants that got out there and opened. And especially it kept the app gig people working, because those were, just like the people working at gas stations and stuff, those were the people that were allowed to be on the road, and they would give you a permit in the email so you could, copy it or show it on your phone to law enforcement so you could ride the road, because you were delivering food to people that had the illness. You're delivering to people that were elderly and they couldn't get out or were scared to get out. You're delivering to people that had no fuel in the car and weren't paying rent, utilities. They were broke because nobody could go to work. So thank God for those that opened to furnish people with food. Up in a mall and listing everybody in there. And I was doing that at all the cities around here for about 50-mile radius to help people. A lot of them hated it. They didn't want to do DoorDash, and they would treat Dashers terrible and stuff. And the thing is that, you want to sell product, the door. And that's I would much rather make that kind of money. Buffering and sound going in and out. Yeah, this place has crappy signal. Yeah, so it's done a lot, this pandemic is shit. Look at all the sheriffs, what the hell? Ooh. I don't like that. But, yeah, this signal's bad. I think I'm going to get my own signal here. Situation's so sad and so pitiful. And I think it's going to last for a while, unfortunately. But I'm just glad that we're kind of open. Although people are not respecting the 6-foot rule and stuff. Hello there. I think that, I hope that signal's a little better. We're riding on phone signal instead of their Wi-Fi. Their Wi-Fi's really non-functional, I want to tell you. But anyway, yeah, I think it's pretty pitiful, and we're going to be going through this for a while. And, you know, they were talking at one point where they were going to give out stimulus checks like every month. Hell, if it's 200, 400, 600, you know how much it would help people? That little bit would help people so much, you know? So, I don't know what they're going to do, but I wish they'd stop handing money off to the foreign countries and everything else when we need it here so badly. You know, they're talking about they're going broke and they're going to have to cut Social Security off. And it's like, well, if you didn't throw so much money away to these foreign places, you know, in the millions and trillions, and then take care of our own people, it's about United States of America. It's not all about United States of America and Great Britain and the Bahamas and all this other crap. It's about right here. You know, there's so many homeless people. There's so many boondockers now, and some people don't even have cars. You know, I consider myself the lucky one. People are like, oh, it's so horrible. I say, yeah, it's horrible. I hate it. I cry every day that I have to boondock in my car. I really do. When you have to do it, it just destroy you. You know, when you're traveling on the road, you might have to do it a day or two because you can't get in a hotel, or you only need to be there a few hours, catch some sleep to go to the next place. It's different, but when that's what you have to do. That's your whole future, is boondocking in the car. It's not a happy place, trust me. And it's really horrible. I mean, I'm used to so much more. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said, we've learned so much from you, you know, about this boondocking thing. I said, you don't even have a clue. You know? I let somebody crash out of my car for a couple hours while I was at work, and they learned really quick how serious it is. Like, it's not a joke. You know? It's not a joke. It's really serious. You know, you don't have running water. You don't have a toilet. You know, you can't keep food. You know, unless you start spending money and you get like a Jackery, you know, 500 or 1,000, and you still have to charge that up, and all that, whether it be in your car or the city park or whatever. But I mean, you know, and then how much room do you have? It's not like we can load a whole miniature refrigerator in these suckers. There's people that'll do, but you really restrict your, you know, space. And I carry tools with me and stuff, but there's a lot of people worse off than me that don't even have a car, don't even have a bicycle, and they're working. They're working. I can't even begin to tell you how many people I personally know that live in storage units, and I to this day, I've never had to do that, and I don't think I ever could. I'm just not a camping person. My idea of roughing it's a room at the Hilton. I'm not kidding you. Snakes, you know, are very prominent in Florida. Rats are prominent in Florida. And then sleeping in the dark, that's another scary thought. You know, it's a shame. Oh, it just reminded me, I've got to photograph some equipment for a guy that wants to sell it. And I forgot about that. A friend of mine that needs help selling some gardening equipment that he has, that he bought and he fixed. And the market value is real good on it. And I promised to help him sell it, photograph it, and list it for him. But, yeah, so I don't know what the future has to bring for us in the United States. It's sad. You know, it's way different in Europe, and it's much more different in Cuba. So, you know, you either have to work with what you got or make a move. I feel really sorry for all the homeless in California. There's just tons of them. But, you know, again, I would tell them, you know, head east, young man, because the rents get cheaper as you go. California is just vicious pricing, just like Miami. I mean, if you want that, go ahead, but it's like you got to work 2 jobs to make it. Just to make the rent and utilities, you need to have at least 2 jobs. And I'm not talking 2 jobs at 40 hours a week total. I'm talking like 2 jobs at 40 hours a week each. And I mean, by that time, all you're doing is paying for a place to lay your head. And so then you think, well, boondocking's a good idea. Well, it depends if you can handle it. I don't like it. I've done it since December 15th. I absolutely hate it. But the only one that can fix it is me. And I work every day, 12 to 14 hours. Sometimes I work 17 hours every single day. Photographing and listing, photographing and listing. Because I've got to reduce what's in the storages. I'm not making any money on it with it sitting in storage, and I'm paying on it. I'm losing money by the day, so it's got to be sold, and a lot of it's got to be sold for way less than what I normally retail it for. I'm forced to do it. I just can't keep paying out right now. I mean, if you figure it against rent, okay, great. But the problem is that I would be better with some of that money in my hands, right now, to work with, to go to another place or here or wherever, to rent something. I would be better off with liquid cash. So that's what that's all about. That's my justification. Maybe it's stupid, maybe it's wrong, but that's where I'm at. It's just like I need to cash out, get what I can get for it, and it takes a lot of time to list. It really does. The videos and the pictures and all that, it takes a lot of time. And it takes up internet on my phone. It gets slower by the second. So, but that's what I have to do. I have to reduce. I mean, I'm at, at 2 10 by 20s. I got 67 boxes of my daughter's stuff. And then, I've got an office and a parking space. I pay for all that, almost $1,000 a month, and I'm homeless. I'm boondocking in my car. But it's cheaper than the rent here. But it's miserable. It's a horrible life. It's an absolutely horrible life. If I spent less time at work, I would probably have, a happier outlook and all that. But I'm busting my buns to get stuff accomplished, because it takes time, especially with the holidays coming. I'm hoping that the internet's going to really jam. And if you have stuff to sell, get on there, because I think we're going to have a problem with shortage, and people are just going to be all over the internet because there's not going to be enough, because there's not enough truck drivers now. There are stores here that have had trouble for months trying to get shipments in. And so I have a feeling that there's going to be a huge shortage starting in about the next 10 to 30 days in stores. And the stuff will only be online. That's what I think. Now, I could be wrong, but that's exactly what I think. So, like I say, if you have a talent or whatever, you make stuff or you have stuff for sale, I would go ahead and get it online, because I think it's going to move in the next 30 days. It's been terrible dead for me. The last 60 days. Bad. I've had like 2 sales in the last 60 days. And it's just, frightening. I'm like, where's the next dollar coming? But, you don't know what tomorrow has to bring. I still have to try. And it's like I'm just beating my head against the wall every day, but I have to try. If I didn't try, I would feel 100% lost because I didn't try. They can't buy it if they can't see it. So it's got to go online. So that's the whole objective. I do make more money in person selling by far. Online, I'm only making about 10% of what my normal income is. And that's disgusting. I'm not used to not having money. But, I need to get this stuff listed, get it going for whatever price. I've got stuff that I've got knocked down to like $10, which is insane. You couldn't even make it for that. But I have to do what I have to do. So, yep. But anyway, I love you guys. It's been a slice of heaven. Thanks for hanging out with me. And do something kind for a stranger. I promise I'll be back to see you. I love you.